The opinion expressed here do not necessarily reflect the views of the network production company. Viewer discretion is advised. This program contains violent content which may be too intense for some viewers and listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you tonight? Hey, Thomas.
What's going on?
We've
Hey
got a
guys,
great
hey
show
girls.
planned. Hey, Gwen. Thank you for making the magic for us, Gwen.
Absolutely, that's what I do.
Yeah, you do it well.
Thank you so
So
much.
tonight we are covering hundreds of years have passed since this particular case. It is the Lizzie Borden murder mystery. Who done it? Why'd they done it? And all of those things. We've got a very special guest tonight. We've got Rebecca Pittman, who's a wonderful, world-renowned author and criminalist. Hey there, Rebecca.
Hey Rebecca.
Good
Hey,
evening,
Rebecca.
people.
And she's got the most beautiful voice.
Oh,
Love it.
okay. Well, there's just no self-consciousness going on now. So,
She sounds like I swear she sounds like Betty White.
You said Betty White, yeah.
Yes,
That's
it
a
does.
sweet voice.
Yeah.
That's a sweet voice.
if I
Yes.
have if I have her wit, I'll be very happy.
Yeah,
Oh,
There you
right
go.
a little bit of her sass. Yeah, she's something.
I got the feisty. I got the feisty.
So people are joining us. It's going to be a great show.
Oh yeah.
So Johnny, he's in several true crime comments. I would have loved to have been in my 20s when that happened. Yeah, I guess though I'm thinking Lizzie Borden. I mean, what kind of bizarre case was this? The Borden family full of wealth and pomp and all of this, and then this happened. Who wants to kick us off?
One of the things that I think made it endure is it's kind of like one of those locked door mysteries.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't have been able to occur in a 10-minute time frame with no witnesses, but it did inside a locked house. And I think that fascinates people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that was one of those cases, even back at the time. We think about our time now, that had as much press at the time as the O.J. Simpson
Oh yeah.
trial. And that's another one that nobody knew for sure, but we are, all of us say it was O.J., just like all of us today really think it was Lizzie. But she was acquitted, just like O.J.
Yeah.
Very similar, those crimes of the century.
She's often been compared to the OJ case. It's
Yeah.
interesting. But it was also the first American crime scene to be photographed.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, Jack the
Oh.
Ripper was the first over the pond. But Lizzie's was the first one to have crime scene photography, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of a lot of that, like we talk about on the show. I think the great thing about Lizzie right now, as we're talking, is our show is called Serial Killers, Supernatural Murders. So we're going to have the opportunity to combine that murder mystery along with the supernatural that I know Blaine and myself have experienced, and I know Rebecca stayed at the house too. But some intense stuff, and just trying to solve that mystery years and years and years later. What is it, like 134 years or something since it happened?
Oh, yeah.
So, unbelievable.
Horrible.
And I think her popularity, or at least the excitement about this, just grows. It's just people won't let go of it. And I think a lot of it was the audacity of the crime.
Yeah.
That it happened at 11:20 or 11 o'clock in the morning when it's a hugely busy street. And that house sits so close to the street, as you guys know, it feels like you can just reach from the sidewalk and tap on the front door. It is just right there. And that it was somebody that was a Sunday school teacher in a Borden and did charity work and was a 32-year-old spinster. And it was like unheard of. And yet she still fascinates today. And she was acquitted, but she was still ostracized. I mean, the rest of her life, I think was pretty unhappy, even though she got what she wanted. But
But I think a lot of the big thing is back then they didn't feel like a woman could have done this,
right.
and there was that concentration on her being a woman as they compare, because OJ, there, the LA riots just before that, and there was really a call that, this is an African American gentleman, we got to look at it in a different way and push that in court. So it is that type of thing that was going on, but they didn't think she could do it. But anybody mentally, just so you guys know, anybody could do anything if they put their mind to it. So there is the possibility that, she could have done it. A lot of us said that, if she killed her stepmom first, she'd probably overcome her. She's probably stronger than her stepmom, but her father was sleeping at the time. So really she didn't have to do much.
I was reading Johnny's comment. You're absolutely right, Johnny. There's a lot of parallels. What's interesting, and I was talking about this with someone earlier today, is the way that we describe things in true crime. That to be a serial killer, your murders have to have been spaced out. And they even give it like a month apart, which I always found really interesting. Lizzie's not a serial killer. It's a double homicide.
Yeah.
It's not a mass killing because there wasn't enough to quantify it for that. So it's interesting that we have these little pigeonholes to put these in. But when we're talking about the murder itself, and I brought this to show you guys, this is an 1892 hatchet. So this is exactly the one. It's a shingling hatchet that was shown in court when she went to court. If you look at the back of it, it has a claw head. I'm not doing this very well. So you can see the little prongs here.
Yeah.
So it was made to work on shingling roofs and pull nails. But look at it in my hand, and you can picture that perhaps it's not that hard to wield for a woman. Now, it's not very long. There's the whole handle.
Is it heavy?
It is top heavy, and I think after doing that many blows, your wrist would get tired.
Yes.
The hatchet, I don't know why it's doing this unless it's because I've got a different screen behind me.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so this hatchet is actually 1/4 of an inch or more taller than the one she used. Hers was really diminutive. It was about that tall. And when you see the head of it in the Fall River Historical Society, the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, it's so small. It's just this diminutive little hatchet, and it looked like something a woman could have used.
Yeah.
But here's my question to you guys. Was the inordinate amount of blows part of the plan to make it look like a maniacal killer did it? If she'd only given Abby 1 or 2 blows, could that have come back to her as a woman? But to do 18? And then by the time, and I don't believe she at that point wanted to go through with it with her father. He came home early.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get Bridget out of the house, and she was stuck. But she gave him 11, and I'm thinking she's got to match the frenzy that went on in the guest room upstairs with Abby to look like the same person did it. So I want your thoughts. Do you think that was part of the plan for the overkill in this?
I think on this psychological side of it, that she committed so many heinous acts because how many times she hit them, that's a serious crime of passion and anger.
That's what I was thinking too.
And I think once she got started with her stepmother, that little thing kicked in, that it factor that serial killers and murderers have. It's like their conscience just goes away, their guilt, remorse, everything's gone. And then once she got it going good, the more she hit her, the more excited it made her that she couldn't stop herself. And I think the only reason she did stop when she did, because like you said, her arm got tired of, hitting solid bone. And anybody's ever used a little hatchet just to cut a piece of wood, it's energy absorbing, it is very energy consuming. and you go after that, and after that, you just can't swing no more. You take a deep breath and look down at what you did and went, am I satisfied with myself now that I
Yeah.
did what I wanted to do?
Yeah. I
With
think a
all
lot of it,
with all the buildup that led to that morning, I absolutely believe that could have happened, and that there were two hatchets used. Abby was killed with a brand new hatchet, and Andrew was killed with the old one that they had down in the cellar because Lizzie, deciding she wasn't going to kill her dad after what she'd done to Abby, threw the brand new one over the fence in the backyard. It landed on the roof of Crow's barn behind the house, and it was found a year later. They know it was a brand new one that killed Abby because there was actually gold gilt found in her bone, in her brain. And back then they would coat the edge of the hatchet with gold gilt when it was brand new. And the stamp right here was in gold gilt. And so that was found inside Abby's head, but not Andrew's. And during the trial, they actually tried to put a brand new hatchet into the wounds in his skull. It wouldn't fit. The blade was too thick. It could have only been done by a hatchet that had been honed down over the years to such a thin blade. And that's the hatchet that they found broken in the basement that she tried to hide and make it look like it was an old dusty tool. So there were two hatchets, there were three dresses, there were three murder attempts. It just goes on and on and on. And I have no doubt she did it at all. And my book shows that, but I researched it for 5 years and I read over 5,000 pages of transcripts and witness reports. Well, look at the size of this thing.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my life's work right there. So it's a big book. I call it my burglar weapon and doorstop. But
Yeah.
Funny.
that's awesome. So now I was saying earlier, you were talking about why she hit. There's another way to look at it too on a psychosis, with somebody that's had issues with family members in that passion. A lot of times it's like some people do that are having psychiatric incidents, they want to cut themselves to relieve themselves. So when somebody hits a hatchet or a knife or a stabbing, each blow feels like they heal some kind of trauma in themselves. That's what
it's a release.
It's
Yeah,
a
release.
release. Yeah.
All right.
So
So
that could be
I
the
did-
other side of it. But, I know there was also the fact that before the hatchet, and you were talking about planning, she had gone down to the drugstore or something and bought some, I forget what type of hydro acid or whatever she was going to buy for some reason. There was some use of it at the time, but there was more that she bought than she should have. So there was that part too. I don't know if you remember about that.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting is there's a whole countdown she did. I'll talk to your point first, but she popped back up. The murders were on a Thursday, August 4th. She popped back up from a vacation she was supposed to be on and came back unexpectedly because she knew what was going on behind her back. And that was that her father and her uncle and Abby were going to put 250 acres of the Borden property, a huge Swansea farm, into Abby's name the day of the murders. And that's her inheritance. That's Lizzie and Emma's inheritance. And they knew that she was going to go through the roof because Andrew, years before, had given Abby's half sister a house to help her out, and the girls went through the ceiling. So they were hiding this from Lizzie, but she was one step ahead of them all the way. She was planning this since March, and they died in August. But anyway, she's supposed to be in Marion, which is in South Massachusetts, and she pops back up, and they freaked out. It's like, what are you doing here? And she made up a story of having to be there as the secretary of one of the Christian societies. And so now they're a nervous wreck. And this is where I believe was the first murder plot. Andrew and Abby were supposed to have begun vacationing at their farmhouse in Swansea that Monday, the Monday before the murders. They did every August. Everyone would go where there's water, where it's cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a river running right behind it. And it was where Lizzie grew up and fished with her father. And that was the farmhouse that was going to be taken away from her in this new deal that her dad and uncle were putting together. And so I believe she put arsenic in the milk can at that farmhouse, believing they were going to start vacationing there that Monday. And the reason I believe that is the farmhands got sick.
Mm.
They didn't end up going. As soon as she popped up, they didn't go. And all of a sudden, even the police were going out to the farm to talk to the overseer and the farmhand that were deathly sick. And rumors of poisoning were going around. And I think she put it in their milk. Well, they didn't go. So that thwarted murder plan number one. So that day, she's running around to 2 different drugstores trying to get arsenic because she used up what she had in the milk can out at the farm, which she got from a painter mixing paint to paint the house because she picked out a green color. And to make green back then, you had to add arsenic to copper to get that verdigris color. And there's a whole story behind her getting the painter to come back and remix it in the barn. And she stood there the whole time. This came out in the testimony. And that barn was broken into that night. And I believe she stole the arsenic at that point, put it in the milk at the farmhouse, but they didn't go. So she's running around Monday and Tuesday, and nobody would give her any arsenic. She would actually go back to the same drugstores and go, well, how about prussic acid? No, we can't give that to you without a prescription. I mean, prussic will kill you in seconds. It's cyanide.
Yeah.
And so nobody give her that. So finally on Wednesday, so Tuesday, she got hold of it somewhere because Tuesday night during dinner, Abby and Andrew got super, super sick. And I think she put it in the milk again at the house. Bridget got sick. And Andrew had a habit of pouring milk all over chunks of bread
Mm-hmm.
and eating it. Well, Abby didn't. And I think that's why Andrew was more sick, was it just sat in his stomach in this bread, poison soaked bread. And that night, Lizzie listened on the other side of the wall. Only a wall split her room from her parents. And she listened to them throwing up all night, waiting for them to die.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So the next day, she's finally desperate. It's now Wednesday, and the bank deal's going down the next morning where there's an excuse to pick up Abby and take her. And once she signs the papers, that's it. So Lizzie goes down the street to a drugstore that knows her, which was really dangerous. She'd been even going clear to New Bedford to get poison so nobody would recognize her, and they wouldn't give it to her. She wanted 10 cents of prussic acid to clean her sealskin cape, which you don't even use it for that. And I think at that point, she picked up a brand new hatchet somewhere. She's now down to a hatchet. And I think the fact that she picked a hatchet is interesting because it does give you more distance. You've got a long handle. Why didn't she just take a knife to him? And I think that's A, too up close and personal, and B, a hatchet's probably going to be a safer bet that they're going down. With a knife, that's a tough one to actually kill a moving target. But a hatchet like that, especially to the head, is probably going to do the job. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I did I tried to meditate on this to see if I could connect. I've been working on doing remote viewing, and I saw her. Okay, this is just me. If I misread this, don't feel like it's going to hurt my feelings, okay? But what I saw was she was standing there, and I saw it looked like a chaise lounge, but I was too close to it to really see it. But I saw her saying something with every strike.
Huh.
And like she was saying, and this is for this and that, and you did this, and you were taking this from me. And I could just hear it reminds me of a woman that has a flip flop and she's saying something to her kid the whole time she's hitting. I know that's funny analogy, but in a more deadly way, I could see her just this, that, what you did, and then when she's finally done, she's like, and now you're finally dead. I can't kill you. You won't stop, just rage and rage and rage. And I could see her breathing heavy. And then it was black. And then I saw her move to another location. And that one was the Chase Lounge. The first one was a lady. I don't know a whole lot about this. I mean, I have 6 little slides that I've got that this is all I've done. In fact, for people that are watching that don't know about this case, can we do a quick just flip through so that we could get it together? It's just the ABCs, okay? So number 1, Lizzie Borden was accused of murdering her father, Andrew, and her stepmother, Abby, in Fall River, Massachusetts on August 4th, 1892. The case remains one of the most infamous unsolved murders in American history because she was acquitted, right?
Yes.
Right. The next one. On the morning of August 4th, 1892, Abby Borden was found dead. Okay, so she was upstairs in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I saw part of that because I saw like the back of her head and I saw this pillow thing. But the way she was sitting, it could easily have been misconstrued. But I saw words being said every time. Anyway, a few hours later, Andrew Borden was found in the downstairs sitting room with his face brutally mutilated by 11 axe blows. That's because she didn't want to see his face anymore. I don't want you in my face. I don't want you talking to me. I'm tired of you dictating to me, taking things from me that are mine, being a tightwad, that type stuff. Anyway. Okay, Lizzie was reportedly not very close to her stepmother and was upset about her father's financial decision. She attempted to buy poison, which is what you were saying, a day before the murders, but was denied, and she gave inconsistent statements to the police about her whereabouts and activities. Her burning of a dress after the murders raised suspicion. She was destroying evidence. Okay, we're almost there because I know you're about to talk about the trial, but these are just very small bullets, okay? She was arrested and charged. The lack of physical evidence against her played a significant role in her defense. She had an all-male jury since women couldn't serve on juries at the time, so she was acquitted. After about an hour of deliberation, the murder weapon was never definitively identified and no one else was charged. Mm-hmm. And now we're on to the next. Maybe I should save this one, but you want me to wait on this one because why she was acquitted? I can take that.
Whatever you want to do.
So it says that maybe she got away with it because of her social status and because of her gender bias, like Thomas was saying. And if Lizzie didn't do it, who did? No one else was ever, convicted. And the timeline, the lack of blood on Lizzie and the missing murder weapon, that's room for doubt. And then some suggest that Bridget the maid could have snapped from mistreatment or that an unknown intruder was responsible. So I wanted to throw that out. We could talk about that next. She ended up living in Fall River after the trial, and she died in 1927. And hey, Blaine, you want to say the poem?
The rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, gave her father 41.
Okay, so that's Cliff Notes version. Okay,
Well done.
I've never heard that, and Blaine's like, "Oh, I've heard it since I was a kid." See, I just don't know about all this.
We all know about this stuff. We thought it's interesting that's got me sort of fascinated with her, and I think too. And I don't know how wrong I am or right on this one, but when I vision her, she's nude when she does the killings. And she does that. Yeah, and the reason I think that she was nude when she did it, there was no blood found on her. Clothes would have had blood on them. She could have washed her body real quick before anybody even showed up. And I think the dresses she had used, I think it had some spilled arsenic that she wiped up with it and had to get rid of that dress. Oh. It had arsenic on it. That's what I'm picking up on it right now. What's coming to me.
Well, one of the dresses she said she got rid of when they asked her said she had paint on it.
Mhm.
But that goes back to what Rebecca said with the green paint and the arsenic.
Arsenic,
Where she
thank
could have
you.
got paint on her trying to get the arsenic. Something might have spilled when she tried to get back there to get that from the painter what he left. But yeah, that's the possibility too. As we look at all this evidence that we're bringing up that I've never heard of. That's why I love having Rebecca on, because she does such great research. And her
Yes,
book,
she
of
does.
course, she showed you was like, War and Peace of
War and
Lizzie
Peace,
Borden.
baby.
Wow, that's
Well,
You're gonna get
amazing.
everything in that book, and yeah, so
What can I talk to those points real quick?
Please
Yeah.
Yes,
do.
ma'am. Please, please,
Um,
please.
This was all planned. In April, the barn was broken into, and I believe the hatchet was stolen then, because right after that, Andrew had to go out and buy a new hatchet. This guy is so frugal. That's why the old one was honed down and down, because he didn't waste money. But she found out he was beheading the pigeons, and I think she took care of them. He got rid of the horse that they had in their barn the year before, and Bridget testified that Lizzie was out there all the time petting the horse. She loved animals. So he got rid of her horse. So all of this is tension building. Now she's caring for these pigeons, and he's starting to behead them
Why?
because they were
Out of
a
spite.
delicacy. It was squab. And you could sell
yeah.
that to restaurants and to people. And he would go through town selling eggs from the farm, which embarrassed her to death. He sold vinegar from their cellar. This guy was so thrifty. So the birds, when they're only 25 to 28 days old, that's when you behead them. That's the squab. They've got to be very young. And so I think she stole the hatchet. And so every month he's beheading the new babies. And so when May came along, I think she stole it again. And so to show her that you aren't stopping me, he twisted their heads off
Oh,
and brought them in and laid them on the kitchen table for her to see that he had twisted the heads off. It was
Oh.
this was the kind of contention that was now building in this family. So in May, so you're seeing this build up. In March, she's having a cape made, tells the dressmaker, when the dressmaker says, "Oh, I'm doing one for your mother," she blew up. She goes, "That's not my mother." She goes, "She's a mean, hateful thing." And she goes, "Oh, Lizzie, you don't mean that." She goes, "Yes, I do. I try to stay in my room all day, and we don't even eat meals with them." So this is March. April, the barn's broken into, the hatchet's gone. May, the birds are brought in, beheaded. And a lot of stuff happens in May. May, the dressmaker is at the house, the first week of May, to make new dresses for she and Abby. For some reason, Emma didn't need any. And the first one Lizzie wanted was a Bedford cord light blue dress. And the dressmaker testified during the trial, she needed that first. And as soon as she made it and she put it on, the painters were there at the same time painting the outside of the house. The painters had been there, they had made the paint and gone home, and Lizzie missed them. She was out. And so she walked over to the painter's house and said, "That's not the color you want. You got to come back at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning."
oh my
And so
Lord.
she made him remix it in the barn so that the arsenic would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Made him redo the color. He does the swatch. "Is this okay?" "Yeah, we'll do that." Meanwhile, the dress gets made. The painters were there for 3 weeks. They did the railing coming down from the back porch door. She went out immediately, and we believe that from where the stains fell on her skirt, she had lifted it to go down the stairs and brushed it and got that paint all around the bottom and under the hem. And for it to get under the hem, I believe she probably had picked her dress up like you had to back then, and it brushed the railing. I wondered if that was on purpose. The dress was very cheap material. It's what they called a house dress. They only wore it around the house. And so now you've got a stained dress. And when that paint dried, it was a dull brown, like blood happens to dry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Rebecca, would you mind if I put up your book? People are asking about it. Would you mind if I put the cover up?
yes, I just don't want. No, of course you can. Thank you.
I'm gonna add. Okay, this is her book for those who are asking or didn't.
Yes, I saw that. So
Yeah.
how can people purchase that?
It's on Amazon.
Amazon. Let me go
Mhm.
look.
It's the history and haunting of Lizzie Borden, but it's a big book, but there's a lot of photographs. It's packed
Right on.
with photographs.
cool. I just wanted to show it because they were
Thank you.
asking, and I was going to show it anyway, but
I
sorry to interrupt.
appreciate
Okay.
that. No, that's all right. So, but this is important because I said there were 3 dresses involved.
Mhm.
So the thing the dressmaker mentioned was that this blue Bedford cord, the ruffle was about an inch longer than what Lizzie usually wore, the ruffle. Now, about a week before the murders, Lizzie goes off on a clandestine trip to New Bedford. She stays at a boarding house, and this is all given to the police. She goes out one day by herself for an hour and a half and comes back with some cheap dress material. And the lady that ran the boarding house testified to this. Now we don't see her for several days. And I think during that time she was having a special dress made. And it was loose fitting. All of hers were very form fitting dresses. This one was very loose fitting. And it was the dress she was seen wearing the morning of the murders. And when one of the policemen was asked to describe the dress she had on, he didn't know quite how to say it. So he said it poofed out. It had a bosom in the waist. So back then they called them pigeon dresses, and that's not the style she wore. And it was pleated and loose. She was wearing that dress over the Bedford cord dress that now had Abby's blood all over it. I believe she murdered Abby in that dress that got stained with paint. And knowing that hem was going to be too long, I think she ripped off the hem. I think she tried to put the new dress on over the other one, but because of the leg of mutton sleeves, it wasn't fitting. And I think she ripped the sleeves off. So now she's down to almost a slip. And she wore that new dress over that blood-stained dress for 3 full days. She did not change clothes. And during that time, the police did 5 searches of the house looking for anything with blood. Back then, you're not going to look under a woman's dress.
No.
And so this is what's so exciting to me is that the murders are Thursday. The crowds were like 1,000 people out front that would not go away. And so the police, the marshal and the mayor came over Saturday night. This is 2 nights after the murders. And they said, we need to tell all of you to stay here. It was getting dangerous. Her Uncle John had tried to go out and mail a letter and almost got lynch mobbed.
Oh.
And she goes, why? Is someone here suspected? And he tried to dodge it. And she goes, I want to know the truth. Is somebody here suspected? He goes, well, I hate to say this, Miss Lizzie, but yes, you are suspected. This is the first time she realized all of her convoluted lies didn't go.
Yeah.
I mean, she never dreamed they would suspect her. She thought they'd find the bodies, go out and look for the killer, and it was over. But they didn't. They kept coming back and asking more and more questions. So here's why this is so important. It was the next morning after they told her she was suspected that she burned that dress. Because now at any minute they could come get her. And the first thing they're going to do when they take you in is they're going to search you and probably put you in some gray sack for the jail. And she couldn't have that dress underneath her anymore. And so Alice Russell, their friend who had been staying with them because the funeral was Saturday and all of that, she was helping clean up after breakfast and stepped in. And this was exactly what she said. I saw Lizzie taking pieces of a dress down out of the cupboard. She said pieces. And like I said, I think she tore off the sleeves and tore off the hem. because she was cramming a full skirt into that fire. And when Alice came in, she said, "Look, see, it's got paint stains." And she shoved it in her face to where Alice had to lean back. She didn't get a good look at it. She stuffs the skirt. And then, so the thing is if the pieces had to come from somewhere, she didn't rip up the skirt. I think she took the hem off, but Lizzie was careful on how she bunched it to show it to her.
Yeah.
And I find that exciting that she said it was pieces. And
Yeah.
so she burned it. She burned it the morning after they accused her. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That is huge.
I agree.
So the final dress, because I said there were 3, there's the Bedford cord that she murdered Abby in, I believe. She put the other dress on and was trying to get Bridget out of the house before Andrew came home. Because if they came and found a dead Abby upstairs and Bridget, an Irish maid by herself, Bridget would have hung. And she didn't want to do that to her. Bridget was still sick from the poison from the meal on Tuesday. And she goes, "I'm not feeling well. I'm going to lay down." And then Andrew came home 20 minutes early.
Oh.
And she's screwed. He came home because Abby didn't show up at the bank.
Yeah.
So he came back looking for her. So I believe she put Andrew's Prince Albert coat on around her. He was almost 6 feet tall. She was 5'4". It would have completely covered her. It would have even come down over her wrists. And she'd learned from killing Abby what to do and what not to do. And so she only leaned in around that dining room doorway and hit him from an angle. And you can tell because the blood spatter hit the parlor door behind his head.
Yep.
If a body had been standing there, it would have hit the body, and it was a clear path to the door. And so, Blaine, that's why I don't believe she was naked. And then the brilliant thing was, after she killed him, she rolled up that blood-covered coat, rolled it up, put it under his head to look like a pillow, and that way the blood on it would have looked like it seeped out of his wounds and that he had just had it there as a pillow, which is actually a genius move.
I mean,
Wow.
that's just what I
Was-
picked up on, and I'm not always right, but I'm wondering though, reason I'm seeing her naked, if she didn't.
I
if it-
know why you're seeing her naked, Blaine.
No, I don't care what that little 32-year-old woman. Can I finish my story, please? Lee. Is I think she practiced doing what she was going to do in the nude. That way she could see how fluid she could be. But I still stand by. I see her doing something while she was naked and, like you said, practicing.
Yep.
Hitting wood with the hatchet to see how strong she was, what she could do with it. But that's about it. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't there, and everything's possible. So I know that Elizabeth Montgomery's movie in 1975 is still everybody's favorite. She
I
did it
remember
in the
those.
nude. And then the one with Kirsten Stewart that came out, they were in the nude. So it seems to be a popular theory.
Yeah.
You want to know something crazy?
Yes.
Elizabeth Montgomery was related to Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
It
They
was
were
like
just
a
What?
step
distant
Are you
cousin
serious?
was removed or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to wrap this up, the last dress was the one she handed over to the police when they wanted to finally got around to asking for it on Saturday. She had plenty of time, but anyway, she handed them a different blue. Most of her dresses were blue, but when they showed that dress during the trial, a lot of the people said that's not the dress she had on that morning. In fact, when Alice Russell, her friend, while Andrew's dead body is in the next room and all the police are there and people are coming in and out, they're fanning Lizzie, and I mean, it's really hot and humid, and they're in the dining room and his body's just on the other side of the wall. And so Alice reached for her waist, for Lizzie's waist, to loosen the blouse, and she grabbed her hand and she goes, I am not faint. It's loose. That's how nervous she was that she was
Oh.
going to see she was wearing another dress underneath.
Oh.
And
Yep.
then as soon as she could, and she lied about this, she went up to her room and put on the other dress she had made in May, which was a pink and white striped wrapper. And this one's really long. It goes clear to the floor. And so that was the only time she switched out of that other dress. But that one, I believe, there was a bundle that was hidden on the floor in her sister's connecting bedroom that Alice noticed. And I think that might have been where she put it. But, so, and then she lied and said, well, they told me to change. Nobody told her to change. I think she was getting really hot and suffocating from wearing that other dress over it and changed into a wrapper. So anyway, there were 3 dresses, the one she murdered Abby in, the one she had made that was loose fitting to go over the murder dress, and then the one she actually handed to the police, which was not the one she was wearing.
Yeah, even you were talking about how Abby was, I mean, Lizzie was all over the place with her stories and all that, to the point where the detectives were getting very frustrated.
Yeah.
They really came to the point they didn't like her anymore, and they were getting very frustrated with everything. But, there's so much to this story. There's so many little things and all that. And I know hopefully everybody out there gets Rebecca's book now and just continues. And
Oh,
what we're
yes,
talking about in this
please.
Yes, please.
podcast. Yep, we'll have some stuff up for you guys. But the other thing I wanted to cover, I think this would probably be interesting to Rebecca, is both Blaine and I investigated at separate times, the Lizzie Borden, what was a bed and breakfast at the time.
Mhm.
Particularly for me, I'll let Blaine go right after me. But when I went, I was in a crew. There was my friends Amy and Adam, Greg and Dana, and just a group of us. And we were up in the bedroom where I was with Dana and Greg and a group of people there. And we were going to do the Estes method, which, of course, Dana was one of the instrumental people in coming up with that method out of Stanley Hotel. And the thing is with people watching, if they don't know, you put the headphones on, plug into the SB7 Spirit Box, which is an ITC device, which does white noise and radio signals. And you're listening, you're going into a meditation and you're listening to hear what comes through. And people ask questions and you're blindfolded so you can't read lips. So whatever you hear, you just say out. So my friend Dana was sitting on the bed that Lizzie's stepmom was, killed right beside. And we were trying to communicate. And in comes in, I'm talking to her. We're having like this full-on conversation. She has no idea what I'm saying. And we felt the presence of Andrew Borden come in. And I felt Andrew Borden there. And I decided to ask him because there was a rumor of her at the time. I don't know if it was ever proven that he was abusive. There were some possible things done that he did to his daughter that, they said he might have molested her or something like that. I don't know how true that is. But of course, I'm going to ask. But I ask it respectfully. And Andrew Borden his spirit got a little pissed off at me. Let's just put it that way. Because I get in the spirit, I'm asking the questions. Dana is, we're going back and forth having this conversation. And all of a sudden I could feel the energy of Andrew Borden in my face.
Oh.
I could almost feel, the cobwebs and all that as I'm trying to get information out of him. And he's just trying, almost like he's spiritually yelling at me.
Wow.
I started sweating and my heart rate went up and all that. But as soon as Andrew Borden got pissed off enough to leave, as soon as he left and we felt his spirit leave, my heart rate went back down. I stopped sweating. It was just instantaneous. So we know there was some anger there. But when you really look at it, when you question people, how his personality was, if he was an angry person or what I was saying hit home a little bit for him, you really have to question, was that possibly part of not only her not getting her inheritance, or was it how she grew up with him and what he might have done to her, and how that expounded on as it grows, as you call it, the countdown to her, everything she went through before she murdered them.
Well, it's an interesting thing to say. I've never believed in the incest thing.
Yeah.
The guy was nothing but business. That's all he really cared about.
Mhm.
He gave the girls a great allowance every month for dresses. They really weren't wanting for anything. True, it was a latrine set up in the basement. They didn't have a bathroom. They had to take hip baths in front of the stove. But for Lizzie, 2 years before the murder, she went on an 18-week grand tour of Europe. And it was for her 30th birthday. He funded that. And she did use part of her mother's inheritance. But I think you get this sense that he was trying to placate her, that the hatred she had of that house, that they could afford to live up on the hill like the other Bordens, and they didn't.
But a lot of times, even then, we don't know because we weren't there. A lot goes back to the psychology. If at that moment, as she's more in recognizing how she grew up and having pushback.
Yeah.
But sometimes what they'll do is they'll try and feel guilty. They'll try and throw gifts at them, give them trips, do these types of things, the makeup, like abusive husbands. And they do, I'm sorry, buy her flowers the next day because he beat her up. Those types of things, the psychology of it, and the things that, I know about, that type of thing. I'm not saying he was, but he does take on that persona, as we say. He did this for, he did that for, he was a straight up businessman. But, there's a facade sometimes that's the whole thing, is when we watch stuff on the news and somebody murdered somebody, they were a nice person.
Yeah.
They were but we don't know. Again, there's a pattern. We'll never know the fingerprint of why people do what they do, especially with Lizzie. But I know Blaine had a pretty crazy experience at the Lizzie Borden house when he investigated. So that probably ties into everything we're talking about too.
Yeah. Now, one of the incidents that I had there was up the same bedroom you guys were in.
Yeah.
And I could hear Abigail just screaming, make it stop, it hurts.
Oh, no.
I know. And then the weird part about it, though, is like you could actually hear the blows and the blood coming off the axe and, directional wherever it's going. But we got something in there downstairs near the sink that this spirit come through, and it was a male, and he said, I watched it all. I'm like, who watched it? Because like you said, that house is so close to the road. Somebody could have seen, him getting killed, and just sit there in shock. It's like, oh, okay, I better leave before I get killed. But yeah, that's what I've picked up a spirit they're talking about, that he saw it all.
That's interesting.
I know.
But it could have been a spirit that has already passed.
Yeah.
That was watching it in spirit.
True.
Because, there was also a murder that the relative of the Bordens right nearby where the coffee shop is now.
Oh, yeah.
That murdered her 3 children and put them down the well and then sliced herself. There's an attachment to that too, that ancestral trauma and how it intertwines. Yeah, you don't know. It's a crazy case. There's so many moving parts to it. There's so many layers of the onion to peel back, psychological wise, that we don't know about. Their family dynamic, it's not like it is today where we almost know everything about everybody now because everybody's on social media. It's easier to get clues about how somebody is, but back then you didn't have that.
I do know the whole family walked on eggshells around her.
Yeah.
When she got back off of that tour and finally got to see how her Borden cousins lived, the money they spent in Paris on dresses, it was worse. It didn't help. Actually, she came back wanting what she believed was rightfully hers.
Yeah.
And Emma gave up her bedroom. So to me, that was significant. Emma switched bedrooms and let Lizzie have the great big one. Yeah. So she came home already in this mood, and her girlfriends would always describe her as being really moody. I went to see Lizzie today. She was real blue. She was depressed. She was you got the sense that there was this aberration of personality with her
Yeah.
that you really walked careful when she blew up.
Well, see, that's what
And
makes me think though that Lizzie was a psychopath, for one.
well,
I
she
think
was a
more maybe
narcissist.
bipolar. I think
Yes.
maybe at the
I
time
think she's a
nobody knew what
bipolar. Well,
bipolar was back then, but
yeah.
you really had that you could snap at any moment kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
You could change from one personality to the other. Her, psychopath for her, I don't necessarily know, but it's a good run at it. But I think bipolar wise is more fitting what she is, or was.
There's that, yeah. It's just I put the description in the book, and it's been a long time, so I'm trying to remember what. But it was like she felt like it was like having your face pressed against the window, looking inside a shop, and knowing you couldn't have any of it.
Yeah.
That's how she felt, I think. And the one last point I want to make is it wasn't just that this house was austere and no frills and sitting in a business zone. It affected who would ask her out. She's now 30, 31, 32, and the men in her status that the other Borden cousins were dating were not going to ask out a girl that lived in downtown commercial section of Fall River. So
Yeah.
her dad keeping them there also put the cap on her being able to rise in society and get married. There was a lot going on.
Let's take a look at the house since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
There it is.
But as we're talking and all that, you talk about her marrying and things like that. There was rumor, who knows at the time, because it's going to be more secret then than it would be nowadays. But they thought that maybe she was more geared towards women than men. That was hidden because there was a rumor like after, her parents were killed and she was traveling, had the Maplecroft up the road, more high up on the hill, away from the business area and all that, so nobody could look down on her. I think there was the actress, what was her name?
Nance O'Neill.
Nance O'Neill, that she might have had an affair with, spent a lot of time with her. There's also the rumor that, she had an affair with maybe, Bridget, or they used to call Maggie, was her nickname. But you don't know. We weren't there at the time. We don't know. There's rumor of that. It makes sense in a way sometimes, but that could have been the reasoning behind some of the stuff, that her possibly being bipolar, her trying to come to terms with who she was, the way her father treated her. You get all these traumas all at once. It creates that perfect storm.
Yep.
And, that desperation in her to get out of her situation comes down to money. If you're taking away her money, that is going to create even more of a perfect storm, which, that's
I want to wrap up with this because it didn't end. After she moved into the mansion, there were all of these rumors that she was stealing from her neighbors. There were all of these burglaries, and they were all people she knew, people whose homes she'd been in. And the things that were stolen were so odd. They were things that she coveted. Back then, it was the first World's Fair, the Columbia World's Fair. And they just started with the souvenir spoons like we see today that you can collect from every state you go to.
Yeah.
That was one of the things stolen from her friend across the street. And it was something she'd always commented on and wanted them. So all of these burglaries started happening. And even the police said it was a female.
Yep.
And then she and Emma inherited 11 buildings from when Andrew died. That's how big his real estate portfolio was. 11 buildings caught fire for the next couple of years. And I don't think she wanted to be a landlord. I think she just wanted the money. What are the odds that all of those holdings would catch fire at one time or another and burn?
Very low.
So she had a lot of issues, but it happened long after she got rid of her problem with Abby and Andrew. There was something wrong with her.
But you know what the final nail in the coffin, I think, was?
What?
When Lizzie died, because we talked about early how her father took care of her horse and the birds and made her so sad that he was killing all these animals. So if she actually killed him, what is the best way to get back at him? When she gave all of her money to the Animal Rescue Foundation.
Yep.
When she died.
Yeah, except for a few bequests that she gave to
Yeah.
close people. She sure
Yeah,
did.
but that sure enough, most of it was to the the Animal Rescue, and that's a more of a, hey, I'm gonna kick you in the face even when you're dead. You want to kill animals? I'm gonna save animals. I'm gonna be the complete opposite of you, and show you how I felt really about it. So yeah.
I've always felt her, because she had several dogs, and she would feed the squirrels and the birds in the backyard at Maplecroft.
Yeah.
I often wondered if her affection for pets was they didn't judge her. They loved her unconditionally. And I think that might have been the only time in her life she really felt that. They depended
That's so
on her.
sad.
Yeah.
That is so
Yes.
sad.
Thank you, Johnny. And I've appreciated reading your comments.
Yeah.
Johnny, go get her book. You were talking about it. Go, 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 go. I've got
I'm
it.
gonna put
Look,
it up
there's-
again.
Listen, there's only one copy right now and I've got it in my cart. So I'm challenging you to see it first. I might have to go with the Kindle version for that reason, but oh my gosh, I want to see the pictures. I want to hear the whole story now. Johnny, and he says I am buying her book.
Good.
Well, thank you.
So you guys know when you do buy it, make sure you give a great review. That's always helpful. We want to help Rebecca because we love having her on. We love having her on, and she's written. How many books are you up to now?
18.
18.
Actually, I'm on the 19th book. I'm writing, in fact, it's coming out the end of this month. It's the history and haunting of the Smurl family horror. And they're the family that the new Conjuring movie in September is going to be about.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
excited for that. That the Conjuring 4 Final Rites movie in September is about the Smurls. So that's supposed to launch March 24th. And
how can people follow you, Rebecca?
The one after that is on the Bell Witch. So that'll be down south where you guys are.
Let me know.
Rebecca,
let me know.
I'm so happy that I got to, in a little way, help you with the Smurl book.
Hang on one second. I didn't realize it was going to get dark in here. Okay. Thomas, nothing you helped me with is little.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, but my history and haunting of the 1771 Enfield house, Thomas is interviewed in it. And he did a huge portion and was so generous with his time. And you've got such an amazing background. But I'm so glad I met you because I consider you a really good friend.
Yeah.
We
have great conversations. And I was glad that I was able to get Tony Spera to give you permission for the pictures.
Oh my gosh, that was so huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, it was huge. I honestly didn't think he was going to say yes.
Yeah.
But pictures of the Warrens investigating the Smurl house and walking through it are in the book.
That's huge.
That
is huge. Go, Thomas.
So I owe you, Thomas.
Rebecca.
I'm glad people still like me a little bit, but
I love you.
We like you a lot, brother.
If I was still having children, I'd name one after you, but those days are gone.
Yeah, me too.
Thank God. I'm through with that.
Hey, Rebecca.
So,
I believe Lizzie was trying to ask you how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, people are wanting to follow you, Rebecca.
Aw. Just send pistachio nuts. That's all I ask.
Oh,
I love pistachios too.
Better send her some boiled peanuts.
Pistachio coffee is amazing. FYI.
Oh,
so she is
I'm
on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook. I actually have 13 pages on Facebook because there's one for each of the books. But it's Rebecca F. Pittman.
I'm going to you right now. I'm not even wasting time.
And then my website is www.rebeccafpittmanbooks.com.
If you get a book on that from her, she might autograph and send it to you.
you know what? I have people
Well.
ask me all to do that, and I'm more than happy to do that. And if they don't want to send me a book and pay for shipping, I'm happy to, for free, mail them an autographed adhesive book plate to put inside their book.
And it looks
Um,
good. It looks good when you do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It just sticks right in there. Yeah. I'm
I
gonna do
really
that for
care
sure.
about the people. I mean, obviously they've given me a great living. I appreciate their support. The books average a 4.7 to 5 stars on almost all of them. And I was the only one given permission to write about the paranormal activity at the Palace of Versailles in Paris. And that
Oh,
was a
beautiful.
What?
huge
You
thing.
did? I
Yeah.
have an experience from there.
I do too.
Unbelievable.
What?
I'm sorry.
I had a time trip. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
looking down the hall of mirrors, and then all of a sudden I saw dresses starting to sway, and I'm watching, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I felt like a giant because everybody was so small.
I'm
didn't
so
realize-
jealous. Oh,
It
how
just
neat.
I was looking down, and I could see how it was an optical illusion, it was not as big as this grand hall of mirrors I was expecting, but it was more like toddler size. Everything was small. I mean, even Marie Antoinette's bed is like a junior bed.
Yeah.
Everybody was small, and I hadn't really gotten to that point yet. But anyway, although I saw dresses starting to sway, and then all of a sudden they formed, and then I started hearing a little bit of music. I was like, oh my
I'm
gosh.
so jealous. Her ghost is seen a lot at the Petit Trianon out in the garden.
Mm.
Gwen,
oh
I've
my
got to
gosh.
take you.
Blaine,
I love
what
that.
did you see? Blaine, what did you see?
Oh, in Versailles,
Yeah.
Napoleon,
What?
the spirit
Wow.
of Napoleon. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And-
he
Wow.
was there. He was there.
dude, he's small. I mean small.
That's where the complex comes from.
Oh no! All right, put it this way: he was shorter than Brandon.
Really.
Brandon
You're
Cooper?
Brandon Cooper.
You're gonna
made
make
Brandon
fun of
look tall.
Brandon.
No,
I'm gonna
Funny
make fun of
enough,
the gnome.
was
I'm
shorter than
about
Brandon.
that same size. So yeah, I'm short too.
Well,
Yeah, we know this.
everybody's shorter than you, Blaine. So,
Yeah, I know. I can't.
Yeah.
Four.
I'm 6'2", so I'm not casting any shade here.
Oh wow.
Go.
I'm 5'9", so I'm somewhere in the middle. But,
You're my sister's height. Yeah.
Y'all,
really?
I
Blaine,
hate,
I'm jealous.
I hate this, y'all, but I've got to get off here. I got to go
Aw.
spend some time with Jennifer.
You go be
Bye,
with your
Blaine.
lady.
Bye, see
It
you
was
next
nice
week.
to meet you.
Give her a
Blaine.
hug
ma'am.
from me.
I will. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye. Johnny, I'm in Colorado.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
where-
Did I?
He asked
Okay, I
where
thought
I
I
was.
clicked it. Okay.
I clicked it and then it went away. So I don't know.
You
I'm so
guys
used to
are
doing
so
it,
much
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
No, you are too. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being
Oh.
on. So we know how to get your books. We know how to
Yes.
find you on social media. Thomas, you want to give a shout out, let people know how to follow you? We do this every show.
Yeah, I know. Same
And,
thing
and
on
you're
Facebook.
growing bigger and
Yeah.
bigger.
Thomas Patrick Gormley on Facebook. TikTok, I really don't do too much anymore, but Instagram, it's the Archangel of the Paranormal. Part of the Shaman and the Showman LLC, the events group. We got the upcoming, which a lot of us are going to be there that are on the show right now, is the Connecticut Paranormal and True Crime Conference that's coming up. There's a lot of things coming up. And also, I am part of a new group. There's a couple new groups. One of them I can't announce yet, but the other one is called Wardruna. I am one of the lead shamans in the healing network that is nationwide, actually worldwide,
Awesome.
that we provide healing for people, but not only just from people like myself as a shaman, but there's also psychologists on it, doctors, people. There's a guy that cooks for depression. So anything that you need spiritually, mentally, and physically is part of our network. And that way you could stay in one spot and holistically heal. And it comes to the point, if you have trauma, it's not about popping a pill. It's about getting down to business and figuring what's going on and helping you heal the right way. So you
I'm
can
so
live your life.
proud of you.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's wonderful.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's very big. Nobody's doing it in the paranormal right now. And we're using this process also for investigations at people's homes. where we could find out if it's actually a trauma that's creating the paranormal issue, or there's actually a paranormal issue going on where the dead have trauma that can't move on. So it's going both ways. So it's very in depth. It's covering every aspect of what makes us human beings and what we need to help move on our own journeys and help each other do that. So,
That's beautiful, Thomas.
Congratulations. That's
Yes.
a great way to use your gifts. I'm so proud of
Yeah.
you.
yeah, you know me. I always tell people I've been doing this for a long time, and I keep it simple. All I want to do is help the living and the dead. That's it. You know, nobody should complicate it, because everything leads to that either way you look at it.
Yeah, we're going to be both of those, right?
That's right.
Got to help it either way. So
I'm really proud of you. Can I share a funny thing with you guys real quick?
Please.
Sure.
So
Okay.
they asked me to do a big lecture on Lizzie Borden. It was the evening of the election results that we just had. So everybody had just found out Trump won, and I have all these people, and it was in the evening, and I was setting up, and the lady that had invited me said, "Where's your hatchet?" And I said, "I left it out in the car in case some people weren't happy with the election results."
Oh my.
Everybody just died laughing.
You
Yeah.
see this diva here. Look.
She's
What
a
are
man.
Luna.
What
Is that
are
a
you
Hey,
looking for?
niece girl. Oh,
What
Is
are
that a
you
pit
looking
bull?
for?
That's
She's a
French.
Frenchie.
hey,
A
Frenchie.
French? Oh, that's what
Her
my
name is
son
Luna.
has.
Yeah.
They're
Everybody's saying
they're loving
congrats.
dogs.
She is the All
She is.
Access Network TV mascot.
She
Yeah.
is.
Hey, girly.
Yeah, there's
Aw.
Well, you
Asia.
guys, thank you so very, very much. I'd love to come back anytime.
Thank
Yeah, we
you.
might have to
Thank
do
you
we have
very
to do an
much.
episode about Alex Murdaugh. That probably might be a
I
good
would
one.
love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm right
Well,
here in
that
South
and,
Carolina.
Pam
Yeah.
Hupp's death penalty trial is next summer, so that's
Really?
going to heat
Oh,
up
yeah.
again.
Mhm.
That was the last
But
one we talked about. Yep.
I have a
You
Anybody
paranormal case.
watching? Rebecca was on before, and we talked about the crazy, weird, unbelievable story of the Pam Hupp murders. And yeah, that's one you have to go back and watch. Of course, watch this one again if you missed it. But keep watching it. You know, the more views and all that, the more we could give you content from the All
That's
Access
exactly right.
Network TV.
There'll
So we
be
want to be able to do that
shorts.
for you.
Little shorts. What do they call them, Lee? Little short
Yeah,
AI.
they're shorts, and I've been putting them on TikTok and
Yes.
Instagram. We're branching out slowly.
Yeah, that's
but
Oh, the
awesome.
branching out.
reels? The
Yeah.
Yes.
reel? Yeah,
Little snippets. I guess I don't know the word.
that's
But yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we're putting
TikTok is really, that's good stuff. I use them
Yeah.
a lot. That's,
Yeah.
when they were saying they were going to ban it, I went, I just built up my following.
So,
Pull
Rebecca,
out the
I wanted
rug.
to tell you, I have a paranormal
Right.
investigation. I have a paranormal case that's connected to the Alex Bertot.
Really?
Yes, yeah, it was the boy that was murdered.
Oh,
They
Stephen,
found, yes, Stephen
that breaks
Smith,
my
right?
heart.
Yeah,
I tell you, when I interviewed his mother for the book, oh my gosh, I was crying one minute and laughing the next when she'd tell me stories about him because he was so incredible and so
yes,
funny. But real quick, if I can just share one of them, it's short. He would grow his own herbs, and sorry, because he was going to be a doctor and he wanted to do holistic work. And so he grew his own herbs and he was always making things. She's doing the dishes one night and he came in and he goes, Mama, I made some biscuits. Will you test it and tell me what you think? She goes, well, sure, son. So she takes a bite and she goes, that's really good. He goes, okay, I can give it to the dog then. So
Oh
it
my
was
God.
dog biscuits and he made them for the dog and had her
oh
try
my
it out
gosh,
because he said, do you feel funny? She goes, no, why? But so
Oh,
one minute I am just laughing my face off, and the next minute when she's telling me about her, the way they found him, we're just bawling because I have 4 sons, and to interview her was a highlight of my life, and yet it was
Isn't
so
she
very
though?
hard, so very hard.
We're definitely going to have to do that episode because it sounds like it'll be the laughs and the cries about it, you know, because that's a fresh case. And yeah, I think
It's
it'd be
still
very
being
profound.
sorted out. All the
I hope they
details are still.
I hope they solve Stephen's murder. They've got enough. There's
Yeah.
a lot of under things going on that I just hate, and it's time.
Yeah.
But I love you guys, and I thank
We love
you
you
so
too. Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Rebecca.
I'll
All right,
talk to you
All
soon, Rebecca.
Access Network. Gwen, take us out.
All right.
Thank you for watching, everyone.
Love you, Tom.